was 24 years old and I felt like a complete failure. I was a newly minted first lieutenant standing in front of a Marine Corps colonel, and I was signing the paperwork that officially sealed my NPQ. I'd blown out my sinuses doing a penetration dive a couple months before. I was giving up my dream of becoming a Marine Corps pilot. And I was about to get reassigned into a shitty MOS. I was frustrated. I was upset. I felt a little bit helpless, but an interesting thing happened when I got reassigned and reported to adjutant school. I started talking to this other lieutenant, and when he saw I was going to 3rd Battalion 1st Marines, he was like, oh man, that's going to be tough. That's going to be hard. You know, take my job. And I saw that this guy really wanted my orders. He wanted the challenge that was awaiting me at 3-1. And you know, picking up on that, seeing that somebody else wanted what I had, all of a sudden made me realize, you know what? Maybe I am lucky. And hadn't I joined the Marine Corps seeking out challenge? And that takes me to my next piece of advice. Seek out hard things. I think a lot of young men have been fed a lie that a good life is one that is full of pleasure, that making a lot of money early is all you need to do because it's going to satisfy all your needs. Gents, I got nothing against money, but when it comes to purpose, when it comes to happiness, it isn't going to bring it to you. Now, gents, instead of trying to find yourself, go out there and make yourself. And the way that you build yourself up is you seek challenge. Iron sharpens iron. When you're in your 20s, think of yourself as an uncut diamond. You need the sharp edges of challenge and life to be able to cut you, to shape you into a stone that starts to reveal its brilliance. On top of that, life is going to rub you. Life is going to polish you when you see it that way. And all of a sudden, by your 30s and definitely into your 40s, you are going to start to shine. And don't believe me? Look at history. Example, Hercules and his 12 labors. What would he have been if he hadn't actually gone through those 12 incredibly difficult labors that tested him? According to neuroscientist Gregory Burns, happiness and pleasure are passive emotions. You don't have to do much to achieve those feelings. Satisfaction, on the other hand, is a lot more fulfilling and is really, as human beings, what we actually crave. In fact, Burns concluded that satisfaction requires 2 important ingredients: novelty and challenge, which makes perfect sense because when are you happiest? Whenever you're mastering something new. And remember that happiness is a byproduct from the satisfaction of the hard work and effort you've put in. My next piece of advice for any man in his 20s, when you find yourself in a dark place and you think that there is no escape, if you ever start to consider a permanent solution to a temporary problem, gents, there is no shame, there is nothing wrong with getting help. And gents, that's why I'm proud to bring you today's sponsor, BetterHelp. In case you didn't know, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and it's 100% online. Gents, with BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. And gents, being straight up, I have used their services. I've got issues like anyone else. I've got 7 kids, multiple businesses. With the war going on in Ukraine, I've got 3 Ukrainian women in my house. Yeah, it's a lot of stress. And the reality, gents, is taking care of your mental health is no joke. And that's why I like BetterHelp. They make it easy. They make it convenient. Now, gents, the way it works is you go over to the website and you're going to answer a few questions. That's so they can match you up with the right therapist for your particular needs. Now, once you've matched with the right therapist, you can talk to them however you want. Chat, phone, video call, and you can message them. And besides the huge number of therapists, I also appreciate how you can schedule your appointment at your convenience. And by the way, if there's not a great fit between you and your therapist, at no cost, they'll help you find another one. Gents, in a nutshell, with BetterHelp, you get the same level of professionalism. You get the same quality as in-office therapy, but with a therapist who's actually handpicked for you, plus more scheduling, flexibility, and at an affordable price. To get started today, gents, use the link in the description of today's video. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/realmenrealstyle. By using that link in the description of today's video, you are going to save on your first month and get the best deal on the web. Next up, gents, never risk what you need for something that you want. And there's a big difference between needs and wants. Now, you got to set that for yourself, but I know for me, what I need is relatively simple. What I want is almost unlimited. But going after those things, yeah, you can take some chances, but don't take chances with things you can't lose. It's always a stupid bet whenever there is a risk of complete failure. It's like Russian roulette. No matter how much you can win, that small chance you have to lose, when you lose everything, it just makes the bet never worth it. Now, speaking of needs versus wants, your needs, those are the basics. For me, I always think I just simply need my vehicle. I want my family. I want my kids healthy. But yeah, if we had to go live with my mother, we would make it work. But here's the thing about wants. You don't have to justify to anybody what you want and what you're going to go after. And this takes me to my next point. Always be looking for new, amazing friends, the kind of people that inspire you. You've probably heard that you become the average of the people you surround yourself with. So look to surround yourself with interesting people who have ambition and are going after it. Now, personally, I find people like this by going to conferences, going to events that are around my passions, YouTube being one. I was just at Vid Summit down in Dallas, Texas. At this event, I met up with over 50 YouTubers, half of them people I never met before, the other half old friends I just further connected with. And that leads me to the second part of making this work is set up masterminds or ways that you can stay in touch. I formalize it a bit with a lot of my business friends by having a weekly time that we get together over a set period. But the key to building new friendships is you have to do the work to build these relationships. Now, that being said, don't forget about your past. You've probably heard the saying, you can't make new old friends. I 100% agree. The people that you knew when you were a kid, when you were in college, when you were just getting started, make sure to stay in touch with those people. If you haven't talked with them for years, find a way to reconnect, especially if you've got fond memories, especially if they were someone you enjoyed spending time with. I've got a habit of when I travel, I go through the phone numbers in my phone. I just call 5 to 10 people. Some of them pick up, some of them don't. I always leave a nice message, but I found by doing this, I've been able to stay in touch with people for over 30 years. Now, what about relationships that bring you down? Toxic relationships, relationships with stupid people. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I refer to stupid people, check out this book right here, freaking amazing. But people that are bringing you down consistently that aren't family, you need to cut them off. And your family that's bringing you down, you need to set hard boundaries. Because if you're in your 20s, you got to understand your environment matters. And unfortunately, those toxic relationships can hold you back from your full potential. Next up, let's talk about reading labels. So the other day I'm in the store and I'm looking just simply for some barbecue sauce. You start reading the back of this, pretty much every barbecue sauce I looked at had high fructose corn syrup. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up. But it really shouldn't be in barbecue sauce because it doesn't add to the flavor. It just makes you fat. And that's the thing, gents. You got to take responsibility for everything that goes into your mouth. And the earlier you start, the easier it is. Yes, I know in your early 20s, you're active, you've got a great metabolism, but by the time you're in your late 20s, definitely by the time you're in your 30s, it's going to show if you aren't watching your diet. And right with that, I'm going to say stop drinking soda. There's really no benefit. Maybe treat yourself once a month, once every 2 months. View it as what it is, dessert. I remember the aha moment came to me when I saw this ad. It was Coke being poured into a glass, and as it hit that glass, it turned into liquid fat. That led me researching how much sugar is in a single bottle of Coke and realizing, yeah, I'm basically drinking liquid fat that's going to do nothing for giving me the body I want to maintain. And right with that, stop drinking alcohol. I know some of you guys are like, Antonio, that's just never going to happen. Here's the deal. How many times have you made great decisions while under the influence? Well, you may have a few. I didn't have any. In fact, the 2 times I was arrested, it was because of public intox, drinking. In one case, I almost died. Yeah, seriously, I used to climb radio communication towers, and when I got drunk one night, I was 22. I was back from Marine Corps training. I thought it would be smart to climb this tower out next to the bar, and yeah, the police couldn't get me off, so they called the fire department, and then the police took me right to jail. But before they did, in my mind, I was thinking, man, I could probably just run off this roof, jump, and grab a tree, and I had these crazy ideas of escape in my mind, which looking back, I'm like, I'm so happy I didn't do this because I probably would have died. Oh, and another big advantage to cutting out Pepsi, to cutting out drinking, every time you go out, when you're just drinking water, you are the cheap date. Seriously, gents, I started saving so much money when I cut these drinks out of my diet. And speaking of money, live frugally, live below your means, save aggressively. There was a time in my early 20s when I had my own apartment, I had a motorcycle, I had a truck, I had student loans, and basically every cent that I earned was accounted for because it was going towards a payment on all of those things. It wasn't until I started talking to one of my fellow lieutenants who was a finance guy, and he said, hey, set this goal for this year and make a game of it. He taught me the importance of looking at interest rates, high is bad, and pay those loans off first. And I quickly learned by looking at my budget that I was spending a lot on food. And if I just cooked more at home and saved a few $100, I could make double payments on the loans and pay them off quicker. So that now begs the question, if you're in your 20s, who should you listen to? Well, personally, when it comes to health, when it comes to finances, when it comes to finding purpose, I like reading books. I like looking back on history. The classics are that for a reason. And even if the book came out in the last couple of years, usually you're going to see enough reviews to know if the guy's trying to sell you something. But definitely don't limit yourself to books. Find mentors, find a coach. And even, yes, if you have to hire a coach, think about whenever you played sports. Were you able to get to that level by yourself? No, it really helped when you had someone watching, somebody helping to correct your form. And the same can apply to your career. If you're in sales, okay, do you need to find a sales coach? Somebody that can show you quickly how to improve your technique so that you can double the amount you're earning in a relatively short amount of time. I know in my case, personally, I've hired coaches because they give me perspective as well. I really appreciate someone that's 20 to 30 years ahead of me, or someone that has worked with people that are farther along with me so that they can tell me, my coach, Randy Haken, he's basically out of the Silicon Valley. This guy coached Jerry Yang, former CEO of Yahoo. So I was paying this guy a lot of money. Why? Because he was giving me insights and he was helping me see things that I was completely blind to. He shared with me his perspective, and because I respected him, it was incredibly valuable. Now, right with that, you've got to learn to ignore advice that you didn't ask for, that you didn't pay for. Yeah, that unsolicited advice that maybe a family member who loves you, but yeah, is bad, or maybe a friend that's trying to look out for you, or maybe someone that's trying to bring you down. Here's the thing. If you wouldn't pay for that advice, if you didn't ever ask for that advice, then you have no obligation to take it. Now, this one's probably going to be a little bit controversial, and you can let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I really think there is nothing wrong at this point in your life with finding a great partner. I know for me, I met my wife when I was in my mid-20s. We got married in my late 20s. She was 23 when we tied the knot. And here, 20 years later, we've got 5 beautiful children. We've also got her family in from Ukraine, which was an extra bonus. But seriously, over the last 20 years, our relationship, yeah, has gone through ups and downs. But overall, I've won the lottery. Now, here's the deal. I know that that is not all marriages. In fact, half of marriages end in divorce. And half of those that stay together are probably not that happy. But let's assume 10% of people that get married after 20 years are actually relatively happy. I know I've got lots of couples around me that are like that. Well, gents, if you had a 1 in 10 chance of winning the lottery, which would probably even be higher because you can actually do it multiple times, and a lot of it depends on the kind of person you are as well and how much work you put into it. I mean, yeah, wouldn't you take that bet? I know I would. All right, gents, agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And what video to watch next? Boom, I got you covered right here. Check it out. Solid vid. Oh yeah.